Hey everybody, welcome back to Around the Emirates podcast with Sara Mousa, where I speak to guests from across UAE about topics you want to hear about. Today I'm joined by a very special guest, Richard Fitzgerald, who is founder and CEO of Augustus Media, an award-winning media company based in the Middle East. Welcome to the show, Richard.
Thanks, Sarah. Thanks for having me on the Around the Emirates podcast.
Thank you so much for being here. I know we all love media, and the media space is such an interesting and evolving space. Please share your story and what got you started in the media industry.
I graduated many years ago now, in 2006 in Dublin with an economics and German degree. So I wanted to be a football coach. My mum told me, get a degree. I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I picked a business topic and a language and actually psychology for 1 year and dropped that. I wanted to be a football coach. But then at the end of 4 years, my mind was broadened a bit and I kind of got into digital advertising, started reading about it, tried to get into it. It's very hard. Did an evening course, eventually got a job in an agency and haven't looked back. I've almost done 20 years in this field, in this industry. It's taken me to 7 or 8 companies in 3 main countries, but across many more. And yeah, I rode the wave of the social media wave, starting in social in my first digital agency in 2007 was right at the very start of Facebook ads and pages and social media. It was a roller coaster really that hasn't really stopped. And I did that until about 2015. I ended up head of social media for Mindshare across Middle East and North Africa. So I kind of climbed the ranks, overcome some hurdles and things like that. But I got into eventually sort of, got promoted some companies, didn't in others, clashes somewhere, positive elsewhere, all that sort of stuff. But I just did my hard yards or whatever in agencies. And I had a really good time when I came here. I did it for 3 years from 2012 to 2015. And I was a little bit restless all those years, thinking, should I set up a social media agency? Should I do this? Should I do that? In the end, I ended up setting up Love in Dubai. My friend had done something similar in Dublin. And in a sense, it's kind of a real-time social media agency in a way, but actually it's the other side. And to answer your question, it is media. We are a publisher and a broadcaster. We say text, audio, and video now. So we do websites, apps, newsletters for Lovin, and then also podcasts, video, and social and all that stuff. That was 2015. 5 or so years into it, we sort of bought out the original franchisee thing, and then we had free reign to kind of scale it. So we're now in 22 cities across the region with Lovin. We've got 100 employees. We've got a streaming platform. We have another brand called Smashy, Smashi. Smashy is mainly Smashy Business and Smashy Sports. Yeah, we also do some content under Odeon, one of our brands under Augustus Media. But yeah, it's been fun. It's publishing, it's navigating media. It's been a roller coaster. It's been amazing.
There's so much awesomeness in what you just said, like the fact that you went from one career choice to another, the fact that you experienced so much in something that was still relatively new, like social media, like it's been there in some forms for a while, but because it changes so rapidly, it almost feels like there's so much new, like there are so many new elements that we have to adapt to so quickly for it. And like, making the decision between the type of agency you want to start and then expanding on that, adding, podcasting, adding broadcasting. You said yourself that you went through, a few hurdles to get to this point. What would you say has been kind of your main challenge in getting to where you are today, and how have you overcome it?
Yeah, I think in this context and how you asked that, I think the career challenge was figuring out my role in this corporate-ishy world, although I don't like that phrase, but figuring out my vocation, my career, navigating that. You know, sometimes is that stress that you have, that anxiety you have, is it because you've got conflict with a boss, as I had in Dublin and as I had a bit in London? Or luckily I didn't really have it here. Or is it because you just want to do more and you're not fulfilled or wasn't fulfilled or whatever. I always used to say that the companies that I left is because they didn't match my ambition. So I left Dublin to go to London because they wouldn't open a social media department. I left London to come here because they wouldn't make me a director, and I was 28 and my directors were 42 and I was a senior manager, and I just wanted to grow. And I left the job here because I was regional head of social, reporting into 12 MDs who had 25 years TV buying background. And I was talking for an hour in the meeting with their clients about social media, and there was nothing else on the topic of agenda. It was just how many Facebook fans did Nissan or Infinity or Rani Juice or Vimto or any of these brands have. And so I wanted to be MD, and I joined a tech startup as MD, and then I wanted to run my own agency, and now it's great because I have I went through that. So I overcame things like I made mistakes on people management. I not took things personally, but I didn't navigate them in the right way, even though I had good mentors and even though I had good career coaching and conflict resolution and brilliant management and extra training courses, especially in that agency in London. But I still wasn't fully ready to manage it. I started this business when I was 32. And luckily, alhamdulillah, I've done a good, I've done well here, as in I haven't made the mistakes here that I did elsewhere. I think obviously I've made mistakes, but it felt I was kind of more ready for the challenge at that time. So some of managing upwards have been challenges I've overcome. Some things like people say imposter syndrome. Can you actually do an agency on your own? Do you need a partner? Do you need a founder? Do you need a fresh idea? Can you borrow something else? All those things I just overcame and just believed in myself, and those things were crucial. They were big challenges. And then, yeah, just still keeping that conviction that, like, if you do think that things can be better, if you do think that someone can be performing better, or that you can actually do something better, then you have to go about it and do it. And I'm always reminded of that. Like anytime I do sort of even be too patient with people or things, it's often the wrong choice. Like it's, you don't have to do everything super fast, but like ultimately something gives. And ultimately, I do believe that my conviction and what I had in mind is right. So yeah, there's been other challenges, but navigating a career, like obviously coming to the Middle East was a big challenge. Learning the language a bit, not fluent, but like embracing the culture was a challenge. There have been other issues and challenges. There have been times where I've had conflicts in workplaces a long time ago now, but there's been some stuff. And then there's been legal challenges, especially with Love in Dubai and different publishing things that we've had to sort of build out, and we've had to come to terms with what building a media company, basically a pioneering media company in the region, that the media is so nascent, it's so young, and no one's really done it in the way that we're doing it, both in digital, both across so many countries, and the kind of real-time social news way that we do it. So there's a load of challenges there every day, but it's but we sort of believe in our mission to tell it inspiring stories and to become the modern media company of choice in the region, and that keeps us going.
I love that. I love the fact that you didn't take your failures or your lessons as something that would hold you back, but rather you changed your perspective. So if somebody didn't want to promote you, you took your business elsewhere. If you didn't feel heard in the meeting room in a boardroom, then you put yourself in a position where you're in front of a different or a higher type of audience. You felt like you wanted to kind of expand on the offers that you had. You found a way to do that despite any kind of legal or any kind of maybe community challenges that you were faced with. And you mentioned a really good point. You mentioned the fact that like you have built it in a way that's different from all the other media companies. The fact that it's like the social media kind of following the type of content you put out there. You've really built a really strong credibility amongst your target audiences. I'm just curious, what is kind of your tips and tricks for building credibility?
That's a good question. I think definitely first part of what you were saying there is a good observation, in that media used to be defined by mediums. You know, in the past, if you set up a media company 150 years ago, it was a newspaper. If you set it up 90 years ago, it was a radio station. If you set it up 50 years ago, it was a TV station. But if you set it up this millennium or these decades, it's digital. And then you have to decide which kind of digital it is. You know, 10, 12 years ago, there was a lot of blogs. Now there's a lot of podcasts, this being one. and and you have to kind of decide what the medium is. And then is it a page? Is it a newsletter? Is it whatever? And you know, we sort of decided that we were text, audio, and video, that we were designed for the mobile phone, the medium of the age, of the era, the smartphone, and it might evolve, but and it will evolve, but that's sort of how we decided to do it. And you know, those sort of things were important to us, and it makes it harder because we were good at social media, but we had to do all the other things as well. What was what was the last part of the question?
Just how to build credibility for a brand.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I knew it was a good one. Yeah, I just couldn't remember. So basically, credibility is really a key word. I think it's a really good question because there's no credibility is so important. It's so important. It's actually like the key thing to success. It's the key thing to branding. It's the key thing to trust. It's the key thing for anything, right? And there was someone in yesterday who's running a conference, and I could tell all the person really wanted in the second year was credibility. Oh, and they didn't know how it was. Oh, maybe the Love in Dubai logo, maybe if the sheikh comes, but I could tell that the key thing that the person wanted was credibility. Not marketing, not ticket sales, just wanted their vision, their passion, their project, their conference, their ideas to be given a seal of approval. Gary Vaynerchuk calls it social validation or something like that. So, but in terms of Love in Dubai, I remember when we were starting, we saw that Love in Dublin had a chief friend, a rugby player, and I thought that's smart. That gives it credibility. That gets it the extra level ahead of the blogs. You know, you're doing a podcast now. What gives you the extra credibility over someone else? Is it a big name? And some might think, oh, if I get a big name, I'm going to have credibility. Everyone's going to listen to my podcast. But it's not a simple thing. So I remember having a document and offering a well-known fashion influencer in the region 10% of our business. You know, this could be the anecdote question, but 10% of our business just to be our chief friend. And luckily, the person asked for more equity in the end. And we sort of, after 3-4 months of negotiation, talking to her lawyer, we sort of said, this is ridiculous, you know, so we walked away from it. And luckily we did, because it was stupid. It wouldn't have got us credibility. It was the wrong thing. It was me trying to copy a template that worked elsewhere. It was the wrong person. It was the wrong approach for it. I didn't know that I was just looking for credibility. And, you know, we didn't hire any chief friend. We didn't get any influencer. We just wrote about influencers and wrote about Faza and wrote about people who then, and then those influencers, we shared our content. And about 18 months in, a local newspaper was shutting down, and we bought it. We bought it with any cash that we had, all the social assets, 7 days. It's like a Metro or it was a free tabloid newspaper in all the buildings for about 10 years in Dubai, up until December 2016. And that PR, so I asked a favor for a PR agency, and they put it in Arabic and English across the region. And that headline PR that Love in Dubai buys 7 days newspaper, social media assets, that gave us credibility. People thought, oh, they're news. And since then, we got the media regulatory license, we got the MRO, and since then we launched in Saudi. And so all different things give different credibility. You know, brands are launching, they look for credibility. They look for, you know, if I'm launching a skincare product, should I partner with you know, Esquire magazine or GQ down at the F1 in Abu Dhabi? Like, just all these different things. And you're not doing it because people read their magazines. You're doing it for credibility. You're doing it for seal of approval. You're doing it for things like that. Like, but what you need to know is that you're looking for credibility. You're not actually and if that thing doesn't work, it doesn't mean it was the right thing anyway. If it happened, you know, some people get upset if the thing that they think is going to give them credibility doesn't work. They think that's the reason it didn't get it didn't work. So, but building media brands, you know, a more obvious answer to the question would be, you know, trust, factual news, content, you know, consistency, being there all the time, and that side of things. So that helps, but also that does help. But also the fact that so many people, especially with Love and Dubai, so many people share the content, which does give it credibility to a degree. But also, it's not the only reason why it's worked. It's worked for different reasons. It's worked partially because the city is so dynamic. The city changes so much. There's always stories. There's always people. We've been disciplined. We keep it as a horizontal. We don't do love and food. We don't do love and sport. Keep it based on the city, and everything sits on top. And we've been really disciplined on that. We have a manifesto on the lovin.co website, if you see it, and it says, you know, people, not companies. So like communities, not companies. And we just try and tell stories, and everything else is sponsored. If a company wants to be on it, it's sponsored. So, you know, sometimes PR agencies don't get that. You know, they're paid retainers to get coverage, but we're kind of like, cool. But if we did that, if we put everything that you're up, then journalists don't have jobs, basically, because we don't have a business model, but also we don't have an audience. Like if we literally put out PR pieces all the time, then we don't have anything that's we don't have anything really that's stories, right? Like in the sort of in the compelling, engrossed comment section way, right? So yeah, I think that sort of helps a little bit of credibility, and we just keep showing up. Like we do media partnerships all the time. We hire young people. We just keep pushing a bit. I'm trying to build more credibility for the other brands in the other cities, and for the Smashy Business, Smashy Sports. And we try different things, but you know, it is a bit about momentum. It's a bit about energy. Like how many things can you try? But you have to do stuff. You have to be proactive about it as well.
Whoa. That was such a beautiful answer. And honestly, this is why I invited you to be on my show. This is why I feel so privileged to have you here, because you're getting down to like the nitty-gritty of it, but at the same time you're being so authentic in what you're saying. This is the reality of it. This is the business model that you have, and this is what's working for you, and this is what has made your brand so successful. Not just Love in Dubai, but you know, Augustus Media, like that name is so well known across the Middle East, and it's so well known because of everything that you have done to build it together kind of piece by piece. And you definitely shared a really cool story there. That's very interesting, that I know a brand ambassador doesn't necessarily work for everybody. So it's really cool that you were able to find your place without necessarily kind of following the lead of another known brand. And I think this kind of naturally takes us to my final question here. You've talked a lot about the importance of credibility, the importance of being factual, being consistent, you know, showing up, and everybody's, you know, Instagram explorers is flooded with Love in Dubai because it is the go-to website, or the go-to kind of profile, the go-to kind of source. People love to see kind of the latest news for Love in Dubai, and they know that it's also relatable. It's content that's fun, factual, but it's also something that they can easily share. And at least one person has one friend that is interested in the news. And that now leads me to ask you, for people out there that are trying to get into the media sector, people that are trying to build their brands, that are trying to succeed in the same space, what word of advice would you have for them?
You know, unfortunately, media right now isn't the most attractive sector. It doesn't get the most investment. It's got a few problems. You know, I always say we're swimming against two tides. We're swimming against the platforms, the big tech platforms, algorithms, and everything, and then the creator economy. But actually, both of those things can be good. Like if you embrace the platforms, you can get reach and exposure, and you can generate revenue through rev share. And if you know, on one level, like we are a creator company, right? We always hire young people. We make them relatable. We put them on our shows. So what creators are now, they can choose to become media companies. So podcasters, the evolution of podcasting recently, the ones that are working are the ones who become media companies. Podcast networks haven't really worked. scripted serial type series like serial type podcasts haven't really worked in the last 5 years. They were sort of before that. And what's worked is the individual podcaster dropping episodes once a week and building up a whole thing around it with show cuts, with producers, with consistency and things like that. And if you're going down that path, do that really, really well. Learn from the best examples. What I love about modern media, what I love about new media is there's no rules, but there are rules. The streaming and internet and podcasts is unconstrained. The duration of this chat, the duration of my answer, you're not going to say, hey, you might say it's a fun question, but you're not going to say, hey, Rich, in 30 seconds before I go to an ad break. You're not going to say that, because that's the beauty of streaming. It's the beauty of the podcast, and you don't have to, it's not confirmed. But if you think back to like radio 100 years ago, if you listen to the radio now, there's certain tricks that all DJs and all things do, and sound engineers know what soundbite to record, and it's actually pleasant listening. Like they know how to dial up the music before the news. They know how to dial it down. They know how to segue it. When you're listening to three hosts talking, they know how to play the song in the background, but you kind of know it's coming, and you know the bit, and you're like, oh, I like this song, but I'm listening to them anyway, and they're fun people. It makes me feel better. Like this is universal radio production. It's templated. Everyone listening to me now will have heard it in their own country. They get it. But it wasn't like someone decided it. Someone thought that this is a format, and they created semantics and names and conventions around it. And that's what's happening in podcasting now, right? And this is what you have to do. Like, to have a good podcast, you have to listen to others and go, okay, he or she does it that way. They do it this way. That's music to my ears, or that's what I like listening to. And it's not just about the production and the sound quality. It's actually other things. And the same way with Substacks and newsletters, or whichever platform you use, Go, Substack, Beehive. It's moved away from MailChimp. These are huge. These are huge globally. Just people haven't copped onto it yet in this region. I see so many people leaving their jobs in traditional media and going to PR agencies. And I'm just like, if I was a talented writer, I can't spell. Like, if I was a talented writer and I was a subject matter expert about something, I'd open up a Substack, or I'd open up a newsletter, because I can see it. It's the modern day magazine. There's no magazines launched now like Semaphore, Axios, Puck, Punchbowl. All the newsletters that have $20-35 million of investment, all the best journalists in the US all work for one of those four companies, and they're going global. They're launching here, and we're not doing it. So that's the advice. I could say the exact same on podcasts, exact same on newsletters, and the common thing to say is look at what the influencers are doing, and the influencers are another of these verticals, and they're doing the same thing. And good influencers know how to edit a YouTube video, but also know eventually how to push their own product, and how to have media kits, and how to do good work for clients, but eventually know that it is marketing, and you do probably need to either work with a talent management company, or probably hire a marketing person on your team to do client service, just like an agency would. With Love in Dubai, we get influencer money, but we just do it better than influencers. What do I mean by that? We say what we're going to say. We send briefing documents. We show up on time. We get copy approved. We publish something. We boost it. We hit our deliverables that we said that we're going to charge for the fee. If it's 5,000 dirhams for a reel that's going to get 150,000 views, we do that. And in 7 days, we send a report. And then they come back again because they get a good service. It's like if you're ordering a cake, or if you're ordering someone to fix the battery in your car, right? There's a way to do it. So you just do it that way. And like, influencers need to do it that way. Like, I've seen so many people over the years who are really good content creators and just go, oh, I don't like working with clients. Or other people say, I love this one. Oh, it's not something I would endorse. Okay, then call it an ad, right? Like, call it an ad, because it's an ad. It's sponsored. You don't have to endorse it. You know what I mean? Like, people narratives around this creator economy just make me laugh sometimes. Like, it's advertising. Like, we know what advertising is. Imagine if newspapers or TV stations said, oh, I don't like that car. Okay, it's an ad then. You know, like, but so but these people, the reason people say that is because they go, oh, my fans, I don't want to do it. Okay, well then don't do ads. Then be a creator that doesn't do ads, that you know, monetizes through something else like stand up or tickets, or monetizes through a product, and that's fine. Not doing ads is fine, right? Like Huda Beauty didn't do ads for years and sold makeup. That's fine. And now she's done a really nice explanation of why Huda Katan, why she's doing ads again for different reasons. But it's okay to, as long as you understand how it is, but you have to do them well, because as soon as you're doing ads for clients, that's a service. And if you haven't studied, if you haven't done client service over the years, and if you're a good content creator, clients are going to really irritate you because they can be pedantic, and you know, it can become an issue and it mightn't work, and then you know, and then it can cause friction and tension, and then you can be upset, and then you don't get repeat business, and then you can blame, oh, the industry isn't good, or blah blah blah. But yeah.
Wow, I think that everything you said is so valid, and it's so important for people to hear kind of the pros and the cons of the industry and just learn from what they see around them, and like the people's not just follow the trends and observe the trends, but understand what works best for them, and you know, to figure out what the best way is for them to gain their own like success in their own strategy. Not just to, you know, if you want to be an influencer, but understand what goes behind that, what kind of content attracts the best audiences, and just to work with passion and, like you said, gain that credibility. And I'm very grateful that I got the chance to talk to you today, Richard, about everything media, and I'm so appreciative of you taking the time to be on my show.
Thanks, Sarah. Good luck with the podcast. I'll listen in future.
Thank you so much, Richard. Take care. Bye.